And welcome back to another episode of Born to Talk About Sports. I am your one and only host, Steve Bourne. And today, since it's coming up to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, the quote-unquote unofficial first half of the season is almost over, I'm just going to look back at a few things at Major League Baseball this year that have surprised me and also for the surprised me positive way and negative. To get the negative stuff out of the way first, there's been quite a few teams that have been really disappointing in Major League Baseball this year. The New York Mets, was it the San Diego Padres, the LA Dodgers, even St. Louis Cardinals have been disappointing in the National League, and then the American League, you've got the Astros disappointing. The Toronto Blue Jays have been very disappointing. Seattle Mariners have been disappointing this year too. Yeah. So those are probably the teams that have been the most disappointing. Injuries are an excuse probably for the Mets, Yankees to an extent too, especially with all their pitching injuries. Houston, uh, they they didn't they lost Justin Verlander in the offseason. They've had a few injuries here and there too, but mostly it's just they haven't either come through. Like, lack of clutch hitting is probably the big thing right now with the problem with Houston. And you can say the same thing with the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto Blue Jays, despite being no hit by the GD Detroit Tigers of all teams, which is absolutely humiliating and embarrassing, and all those guys should be embarrassed and apologize to the fans. The Toronto Blue Jays are top 5 in the American League in batting average, yet average in scoring runs. It's because they're one of the worst teams in the league in Major League Baseball with hitting with runners in scoring position. And the team, it's the same excuse every time. And honestly, I'm frankly getting tired of it, is they'll figure it out. Well, that's halfway through the year, and they're still middle of the pack in runners in scoring position overall for the season. And since May 1st, they're in the bottom third of the league. So can you please stop with the cop-out? But for going positive, though, even though they are having a terrible July, the Tampa Bay Rays, when they came out 13 in a row right off the bat, the Texas Rangers, they might have figured it out. They're getting clutch hitting. Marcus Simeon's having a really nice comeback season after his first year in Texas was a disaster. Corey Seager, their young third baseman, starting to figure it out. And there's still about another 70 or so games left. So if they can hold on, that'd be a nice little comeback story for that team, considering they've been irrelevant since they got swept by the Blue Jays in the 2016 wild card round. If you look at also the Cleveland Guardians started off a little weak, but they've starting to come back as well. I think last time I checked, they were first in that Central, battling with Minnesota. And then in the National League, you've got the Braves, who are just starting to run away with that division. But to me, the biggest surprise in the National League has to be the Cincinnati Reds. Got the rookie phenom Ellie De Cruz, who hit for the cycle earlier, and then just yesterday, July 8th, stole 3 bases in 1 inning. Stole second, third, and home. First Cincinnati Red to do that, apparently, since 1919, so kid's in some elite company. But yeah, no, the Cincinnati Reds are definitely, to me, the biggest surprise in the National League. For a positive surprise, at least. I still say biggest disappointment, I guess, negative surprise in the National League. It's a competition between really the Mets and the Padres. The Padres are hovering around 500, a little bit below last time I checked. And the Mets are a walking disaster with injuries or pitchers getting suspended because of the spider tack. But yeah, no, the Mets this year have been probably the biggest disappointment, but also I don't think anybody outside of Mets fans feels sorry for them because of all the money they spent. Max Scherzer getting $43 million a year to get ejected from games. Justin Verlander getting 30 plus million to post an average 3.5 ERA. Um, Mets are not getting what they're paying for. That's clear as day. If they're getting what they're paying for, they'd be where the Atlanta Braves are right now. But yeah, so that's like right now. And say I know Baltimore has also been a nice surprise too, but I had a feeling they'd be about an 85 to 90 win team. Just the way they played most of last year, they fell apart a bit in September, but I think at that point they just kind of ran out of steam. Um, Especially after they did tried to sell off at the trade deadline, and then August still had a really good month, and then like I said, September the Orioles just ran out of steam and kind of fell apart, especially when they were had facing a hot Blue Jays team for most of September. But things to look forward to for the second half of the year is let's see if Baltimore and Tampa can keep up their pace. Will Toronto, Houston, New York, those three teams are going to probably battle for the final two wild card spots. Let's see what they do at the trade deadline. Yankees need starting pitching. Jays need, if the Jays can get Alek Manoah going, his first start against Detroit was very encouraging, but again, it's only Detroit, not known for their high-powered offense. But yeah, well, I mean, the second half of the year will be interesting to watch. Just like I said, the American League wild card will be. Yeah, it looks like it's already starting to separate to come to about three teams for two positions, and if Baltimore starts to fade a little bit, it could be four teams for three positions, and this could go down to the wire. And again, like I said, it all depends on what teams do at the trade deadline. Probably the biggest prize available at the trade deadline right now looks like Cubs pitcher Marcus Stroman, former Blue Jays and Mets pitcher. The Cubs will probably want a king's ransom for him, but very few teams probably have the prospects that the Cubs want. And Stroman would be a pure rental because who knows where he's going to go in the winter. He's having a great year with the Cubs. It looks like he's started to keep the attitude in check, which got him in trouble in Toronto and with the Mets. So, like I said, there'll be a few surprising trades. I'm sure if Oakland has any major league talent that other teams want, they'll sell them off before they make the trip out to Vegas in a year or so. Interested to see but the big name is that's still being talked about right now is Shohei Ohtani. Easy for me to say. I've been reading reports from Ken Rosenthal of the Athletic and Fox that the Angels are starting to take offers on him. No guarantee that he gets flipped, but apparently this is the first time. Like there was talk of last year doing it, but for some reason the Angels said no mas, no dice. Honestly, do I think he gets flipped? Probably not, because the Angels still think they have a chance to re-sign him. Ohtani will next year be the highest paid, not just player in baseball, but highest paid athlete in North America. Because Ohtani is 29 right now, just turned 29. He's probably looking at a 10-year, $500 to $600 million deal. He's going to get $50 million a year next year easily. How long can he pitch and DH? That's the big question. Some people think only about maybe 3-4 more years. Some people think another 5 to 6. Definitely, if he does sign one of those decade-long deals, he will not be pitching and hitting for the entire 10 years. I think that's a little obvious, but those are the two names really to look out for the trade deadline in I believe it's early August this year, so about a month away. But with the home run, today's the Sunday before the home run derby and then the All-Star game on Tuesday night, and then I think a few teams get going on Thursday, but most of the teams get going on Friday. Like I said, unofficial second half of the year. It will be fun to watch. Baseball is one of those games, like look at the Toronto Blue Jays just for an example. Friday night, score 12 runs on about 15 hits. Next day, get no hit and a combined no hitter. And only 3 runners on base on 3 walks. So baseball's a funny game. And it's like a basketball game. It just ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows. So it's important sometimes not to get too high on a big win, too low on a big loss. Looks like I have a visitor back here. Hello. Hey, Cherry. Got a nice little run in there. And so, again, yeah, don't get too high on the wins, too lows on the losses, even though what happened to the Blue Jays is probably rock bottom for their season, and the All-Star break can't come fast enough. But enjoy the ride. Yeah, we're getting into the dog days of summer in July and August. Just remember to when you're watching your favorite team, whether it be the Blue Jays, the Orioles, whoever, that it's going to be it's still about another 2.5 months to go. So, and the division races are just going to get tighter. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like this, share it on Facebook. Twitter. I'm not on Threads. I don't want to go on Threads. I'm on Spoutable, which is very similar to Twitter, except it's not a lot of hate, and they do check for fake news and misleading information. And for myself, sharing up there, and the rest of the family here, stay safe out there. And if you're going outside, remember to put on the sunscreen. Let's make this a safe summer.